On episode 313 of the StressLess Camping RV Podcast, we have some boondocking hacks and facts.
And ways you can stay out longer and have a better time doing so.
We have our boondocking tips and observations.
We also have a new must-get gadget.
And we take you to a place where you're going to want to load up on quarters.
We have this week's podcast along with the notes that go with this episode at our home on the web at StressLessCamping.com.
Thank you for joining us for episode 313. Welcome to Cache Creek.
Our thanks to our good friend Lisa Wilson, whose family owns this beautiful campground. We've been here for a week and it has been fantastic. I'm Tony.
I'm Peggy.
We're two RV industry veterans who travel part-time
in a Rockwood Mini Light,
looking to share big adventures and help you with great tips,
tricks,
and discounts, and boondocking.
And boondocking tips this week. We've talked about boondocking a lot on our podcast. We even did a whole episode once, but that was like 5 years ago, and things have changed remarkably in the last 5 years.
We also understand that, according to industry studies, about a third of you are interested in boondocking and off-grid camping now. So it used to be just a small group, but now it's more and more of you. And the RV industry is kind of responding with changes. Are you using RV Life Trip Wizard to plan our next trip?
You bet. I do not want to make the mistakes we made before. Remember that time we followed our GPS and ended at the top of a cliff overlooking the campground?
I had to back the whole trailer down that road.
Well, those kinds of things are not going to happen anymore thanks to RV Life Trip Wizard. I can set parameters like how far we want to travel in a day, and I can read reviews of the campgrounds.
You can also see how good the cell coverage is. We've got podcasts to listen to and stories to write, after all.
Plus, I am loving this new feature of finding a harvest host location on the Trip Wizard. It saves me so much time.
We can plan our journeys before we go and then use RV Life Pro on our phone or tablet for RV safe navigation. Now we can rest assured that our phone's GPS isn't going to lead us into any more sticky situations.
If you have an RV, you need RV Life Trip Wizard, part of the RV Life Pro Suite.
Last week, if you'll remember, and if you were here with us, we talked about some unusual and unique places to enjoy boondocking.
Right.
This week, we're going to talk about sort of the ways to do it, and some of the changes that have come about in the past, 5 years since we did this last. Holy smoke.
Yeah, lots of things have changed and lots of things haven't. So we want to just kind of, like I said, just get us updated and think about boondocking. And if you've been thinking about it, this is maybe a little step forward in that direction.
One of the things that hasn't changed is our recommendation for how you know how far you can push your RV.
And that is go to a campground with full hookups, such as Clear Lake Campground on Cache Creek in Lake County, California. Go where there's hookups, but don't hook up.
Right.
Just boondock in a full-service campground. And when you get to the point that you're running out of battery, or you're running out of water, or you're running out of tank space, that's when you've got the backup plan of hooking up, but you know how long you've gone without having any troubles.
Yeah, so that's a way to test your rig. And who knows, you might be surprised at how long you can stay off the grid or how quickly you deplete. There's always one thing that goes first.
Yeah, for us it's the gray tank.
Yep, the gray tank is the culprit for bringing us
because I don't
home.
like short showers. I try, but...
Well...
Now, I do want to say we're going to talk a lot about, what the technology is today, but 5 years ago, or in 2019, which might have been close to 6 years ago, I think when we did that first episode, we had just a couple of solar on the side panels that you could plug in to charge a battery, and we had lead acid battery, and we still camped for 4 or 5 days off grid. So these things are tips, and the more of these things that we're going to talk about, the more things you do, the longer you can boondock. But honestly, whatever you have now, that RV is made for boondocking.
Right. I mean, with very few exceptions, it's designed to stay off the grid for a while.
Yeah.
So how long? Again, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And the two big things that we know that really limit a lot of people are RV air conditioners. Some people you can't be off the grid at all, right? And the other thing is RV refrigerators. And it used to be, when we started this, it was all propane electric fridges well, for the most part, in RVs.
Sure.
Those are very, very efficient. They have a lot of advantages. That they're pretty simple. They work, they sip propane and even more 12-volt power.
I want to caution people. I've seen some comments recently, and we're going to talk more, but 12-volt refrigerators are becoming more and more and more kind of the standard in the RV industry. But when Tony says that gas electric, those propane electric refrigerators sip 12-volt, that's because the only thing that the refrigerator does with 12-volt is that kind of brain, right?
Yeah.
The controls. I did have someone ask, how long is their 12-volt going to run their gas electric fridge? And the answer is not. It's not. That's not what it's designed, not how it's designed. Well, certain circumstances,
right.
Inverters and all that. But just straight 12-volt to electric refrigerator is not, that's not what's designed to do. So I just want to caution you when we say a gas electric refrigerator takes very little 12-volt, we mean very little 12-volt, and it's not making it cold. It's just the brain that tells it to get cold.
It's just the brain that actually operates the fridge. Unless you have a really old RV and then it doesn't have a brain.
Yeah.
Kind of like the, what is it?
The Scarecrow?
The Scarecrow, yeah. That dude, man, but he really did, didn't he?
Didn't he?
But anyway, so it used to be that propane fridges were common, and they're almost completely gone if you're buying a new RV. There are a few where you can buy them, but not. And the advantage to a 12-volt compressor-based refrigerator is that RV companies don't have to cut holes in the sidewall to ventilate them. They have more flexibility of where they can put it. For example, the back of our fridge is facing sort of the middle of our trailer rather than the outside wall.
Because it doesn't need those vents.
Right, doesn't need ventilation really. So there are advantages. You only have to run 12-volt. The RVs run natively on 12-volt. So there are advantages. The newer 12-volt fridges just keep getting better. And to prove that, our 2025 Rockwood Mini Lite comes with a Magic Chef fridge, which is identical to a Furrion fridge, which is built by a company called Lippert, which is probably the largest RV component maker in the world. And that fridge, I measured how much power does it take from a dead startup, the fridge is completely off, and over 24 hours. And it's remarkably efficient. These new fridges really are exceptionally efficient and so far reliable for the most part. Although I did a podcast or video with Mike Sokol where we talked about them, and I said, I really have almost no data on RV 12-volt refrigerator failures. And of course, people responded with, well, mine failed. Of course.
I've got a story for you.
Anything can fail. That's the way it is. But in response to the article we wrote, which we will link to here, and also in the show notes if you are listening in audio, I did an article of how long does my 12-volt refrigerator last on solar power. And I was really surprised at how efficient that fridge is. And then we had someone respond with, I only have one 100 amp hour lithium battery. I have the same fridge, and it took less than, I think it was a third or half that battery, but he started it was already running. So instead of starting from off, his was already running, and it was just maintaining cold. And he had stuff in if you have stuff in your fridge, it helps to keep it cold, rather than when it's empty, it actually is less efficient.
So it can run more efficiently when it's got a bunch of stuff, particularly like big bottles of water, liquids, right? Or
beer.
Even more better. More better.
Beer, more better. Anyway, so these new 12-volt fridges this is something you're going to want to test. How long does my RV run on battery power if you have a 12-volt fridge, because that varies greatly. Our first 12-volt fridge was far less efficient than this one.
Yes.
Far less efficient.
Yes,
it was big difference.
Right.
The Dometic that we had previous to this was much more efficient, and this is the best by far.
I think if you got a trailer, or I'm sorry, an RV today, and you got another one in 6 months, I just feel like the refrigerators are making such leaps that, twice a year you're going to have better technology, just keeps growing and getting better. We really like having the 12-volt refrigerator. Of course, we have enough solar panel to keep our battery charged, which is not a problem for us. And we also have, just in case we don't have enough room for all the beer in the refrigerator, we also have several 12-volt coolers.
Yeah, we have reviews of those, but this latest one that we got is a bodega. It's just a little single well cooler, and we ran it on a Bouge portable power station, but a small one, and that thing just ran basically 12 hours on about
like 20 or 30% of that battery.
Yeah, so it's also very efficient. And that's another way, like, if you're boondocking, let's say you don't have a lot of stuff, maybe you leave your main refrigerator off and you have a little cooler, and those coolers are also great for Costco runs or that kind of thing, right?
Now, if you really like to hang out outside, maybe you have a big family, or maybe you're camping with a big group, and beverages, it's nice to just have that cooler outside for beverages so that people aren't running in the camper to open the refrigerator constantly to get a beverage, soda or a beer or whatever. But that's how we've been using it on this trip. We've been in some groups and we've been able to just keep the beverages outside so that anyone can help themselves to them. And we don't have to worry about, keeping the camper quite as clean so that everyone's going to see it when they run in to get something out of the fridge.
One of the good things about all this boondocking tech stuff is that a lot of, like where we are in Northern California, they choose to turn off the power as a preventative measure for fire. Well, what happens if your power goes out? So these things can also be used for, other things besides just off-grid camping, although off-grid camping is why we have them.
Right.
And yeah, it also prevents people from having to go in and open and close the door, and Costco runs.
And those also came in really handy when we did our couple of tent camping sessions last year, because we went to places that didn't have power, and because we didn't have a gas stove in the RV, because we didn't have an RV with us, we were able to take an induction cooktop, and we could heat water on that to make our coffee in the morning, and we could cook on it. Those portable powers have really just so many uses.
And so let's talk about portable power stations. We did a whole podcast episode about how to choose a portable power station, so I don't want to go too much into it, but they really are another good thing. Again, if you live in a place, and more places around are these places where the power goes out, having a portable power station is also a plus. Mm-hmm. Look at that episode about portable power stations, but you're camping and you're like, oh, I want to go to this national park or whatever, and I'm going to go later in the afternoon. Now, this is an idea that was given to us by Jason and Abby from RV Miles. And they take that portable power station, they have a little portable cooler, maybe an induction cooktop, and you can do all your cooking and not worry about an open flame. And so again, I like things that do multiple things, and that's these portable power stations and 12-volt coolers and all of that.
So you can camp off-grid, you can maybe tent camp, you can go on picnics.
Yeah.
We have done that. We went with Brian and Patrick one day. We went out exploring, and then we stopped at a state park visitor center and used their picnic area and cooked boudin, I think, what we did with our induction cooktop. So it's just, they're very portable.
The other thing is, let's say you need a medical device like a CPAP. Instead of powering your entire RV, you can get, and that's what we have, inverter that'll run all the power outlets in our RV. But let's say you're a more normal person than we are, or you haven't visited ABC Upfitters yet,
right?
Or whatever it happens to be.
Or you just don't want that much because you're not going to do it very often.
You may not need that kind of system. You can run things like CPAPs with these portable power stations too, and we talked about induction cooktops and coolers and all that. So again, if you are off-gridding, these portable power stations, they are getting better and better. They are getting more affordable, and they're great for boondocking for so many reasons.
So there's other kinds of batteries too. Let's say you think it's going to be kind of warm, but not so. Oh, the cottonwood here is crazy. Kind of warm, but cooling off at night enough to be comfortable to sleep. So you don't necessarily need your air conditioner. Although, are we going to talk about the air conditioner at all?
Well, I think the only thing I will say is, I hope we provide enough value for you at the StressLess Camping Podcast that you keep listening, because we are going to have a whole episode about using your air conditioner off-grid and how it will be much more possible. But that won't be for another probably month and a half. Yeah, something like that.
But you did run this air conditioner, the existing air conditioner, on our existing battery system, and you wrote an article about that too.
I did.
Let's just really generically say we got about 4 hours of air conditioning.
4
or 5 hours of air conditioning. So even with our system, but if you're not you're not into doing that, you don't need that much, and you don't need the air conditioner. We also have, you might know already, we're very big fans of Ryobi or Ryobi, depending on who you listen to. We like Ryobi tools, and one of the tools that we use quite often is a little portable fan. We'll show obviously pictures and links and stuff.
Yep.
We have each a fan by the side of our bed, and we use those if it's a warm night, but it's going to cool down and we didn't use the air conditioner, we just want a little bit of air circulation, we will each put the Ryobi fan, I blow it right in my face just to feel as cool as possible. But those are really nice. And then during the day, if we are getting enough sun to recharge those on a solar powered, charging system of some sort, or we're just gone for the weekend and then we go home and recharge all those batteries, those Ryobi rechargeables, I think that one battery, the big battery, will last a couple of evenings, couple nights.
Yeah, as long as we're talking about that Ryobi stuff. We use it for our air compressor. So if you have an inflatable mattress, it can do that. And of course, tires. We use it for lanterns, speakers.
We use it for speakers.
Vacuum.
So when we're having gatherings and people
Like
are
last
over,
night.
we've had some great gatherings, especially while we've been here at Clear Lake Campground. We just have those two Ryobi speakers. They're about the same size as the fans. So we kind of put one on either end of the campsite and we can have some nice background party music going on.
I guess the message is know your loads, figure out ways to shed them for electricity. But let's talk about water. First of all, when we're in quartzsite, something that we do is we refill our tanks, our freshwater tank, with those Wolverine bags.
Absolutely.
And we've talked about that Wolverine water kit. They're basically plastic bags you can fill up, and we've filled them at, the grocery store has that water machine where you get 5 gallons of water.
In quartzsite, there's actually a couple of fill stations where you can pay, a quarter a gallon or whatever and fill. And so we do that, and we bought the Wolverine kit that comes with the pump that's food safe, oil in the pump, however that works, and so that we can refill our water tanks without having to hook up the trailer and drive it into town to fill the tank back up.
Yeah, so that has been helpful for getting water in. Again, don't have to move it. Then we minimize water use. You have your sink and you're washing dishes. Well, you could use a little tub of some sort in the sink and then use that water to flush the toilet. So now the water is serving double duty. Get
duty.
it? Nah.
So, and it's also double duty because you're not filling your gray tank, but you are adding water to your black tank, which is very important. So when we're really, really tempted when we're out, for a long time, like to really conserve water, not to use enough water in the flush, and that's not really good for the black tank. So this, putting that dishwater into the black tank, for one thing, also, like if you got a little bit of food articles by accident, it's less of a worry. And also you're adding water to the black tank and not the gray tank where you don't want it. The other thing that we learned about last year and a half ago when we were in Quartzsite was the Geyser shower.
Yeah, the Geyser shower system, which is essentially, we've talked about it a lot, but it's essentially a sponge and a surgical tube shoved into the sponge, for lack of a better description. And it really uses, it's like a gallon for a shower.
And I even use that when we're doing this serious kind of long-term boondocking. I'm a big fan of water flowing on me. And so if I don't have to conserve water, I'm not so good at it. But when we are in a place where we want 1 gallon showers, I am willing to use that Geyser system and take a 1 gallon shower.
Or if you don't like that, we also Venture wipes. We've used those.
Sure, yeah.
But now that we have that Geyser system, and I mean, to be fair, the Rockwood and Flagstaff have a shower miser which redirects water back into the system while you're waiting for it to get hot at the shower. And that saves water too.
Saves water
really
and saves gray
appreciate
tank.
that
That's
system.
a really great system. Yeah.
Yep. So lots of ways to stretch out the amount of time you can go before you have to come back for whatever reason. But if you do want to stay out longer, you could call our friends at ABC Upfitters.
We're kind of almost to the point, other than that long shower problem that I have, we're almost to the point of indefinite ability to stay off grid.
Yeah.
We, the water and the gray water are still our limiting factors. Electricity is not a limiting factor because of our system that we got at ABC Upfitters.
Something that we really like is they will tailor a system to the way you camp, to your style, to your systems and demands. And they are really great to work with, and everything, we've been showing off this system a lot recently, and people are just very impressed with the quality of the installation, the caliber of how they do things. They're just a good group of people to work with who tailor systems to you. And if you would like that kind of quality in your RV solar and lithium power system,
give ABC Upfitters a call at 574-333-3225.
That's 574-333-3225. Or we have links in our show notes, and you can see interviews and videos with the folks at ABC Upfitters.
I left room between us to put QR codes right here.
Yeah, fantastic. A good group of people doing good work and supporting what they do, and we just really appreciate ABC Upfitters.
Goofy USA. I don't think you've talked about an RV for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I don't know.
We've been busy in our RV for a couple of weeks.
We've been sidetracked.
Yeah, we were sidetracked, for sure.
Recently, Winnebago made a big noise about a new travel trailer line they have called Thrive. And I got a chance to look over the Thrive 18 FBS, which is one of the smaller offerings in that range. And they made a lot of noise about, this is totally new and totally different and blah, blah, blah.
Is it though?
Well, some of it is, like there's a new process for the skirt molding that takes away some of the screws on the outside. And I think that's a good thing.
Sure.
This also features an enormous windshield. And I mean, they don't cover them anymore. You can get the Magna shade cover as we have. We really like it. But these enormous windshields, I don't know. It also, as the guy was walking through the RV, they were talking about the decals and the decor and all of that stuff, and not talking about, as followers of ours, you guys are more informed about shopping for RVs. And what did they not talk about? The tires, the suspension, things that really
actually matter.
Yeah. The guy said, this is an enormous oven, and it was a 17-inch RV oven, which is the
least enormous oven that you can get in an RV.
Yeah, and he was bragging about, it's the first time I've towed an RV, and it towed so smoothly. And I'm like, come on, let's get some RV experts there.
Yeah.
You know, so ask me, I'll help you out.
Right?
So anyway, I mean, yeah, it's a neat new RV from Winnebago and cool design and all that. And there are some really nice touches to it.
But groundbreaking?
Yeah, really not. It's it's the same as it ever was type of thing. I have the full review over at RV Travel. We'll put a link in the show notes or a QR code right here. And you can see for yourself.
In the past week, since we met last, we got to teach 2 sets of RV training classes, which was really awesome. And one of the kind of props that we were able to drag out and really show off was a voltmeter from Tesmen, the Tesmen, what is it, TM510 digital multimeter.
So it's basically an electricity tester. And we bought this thing, and then I told Mike Sokol, the RV electricity expert, about it, and he bought one. And there are a few things that really impressed me about this. 1, it's small. 2, it's cheap. It's under 20 bucks. But 3, it's fully automatic. So if you take, you know, as typical with these things, it's got the 2 red and green leads that you plug into it. So you can stick them in a light socket or measure current or even resistance, things like that. But it's fully automatic, so you don't have to set it at all. It will automatically detect what it's detecting and provide a readout.
Whether you're trying to test something that's 12 volt or 120
12
volt.
12 volt, 120.
Okay.
If you're trying to test for different issues with the circuitry. And I like that you don't have to know as much about electricity as with most multimeters. Second, it seems like it's pretty accurate, especially for under 20 bucks. It has a light, it has a circuit tester. It's got a lot of features for the value, and it's small and comes in a little bag, so you can, it's easy to throw in your RV toolbox. So if you don't have a multimeter, I think this is absolutely worth having, especially, again, cheap and not a bad product. So Tesmen. Yeah, not really a brand we've all heard of,
right?
But not a bad little.
But seems to
$20,
do what you need it to do and find where electricity isn't getting to.
Yeah, because it's really good to have a multimeter with you so you can diagnose what's wrong with this circuit.
Well, last week, our question of the week, because we were talking so much about train museums, we asked you, what is your favorite kind of museum? And we appreciate that those of you who went on and answered that question at our Fun and Friendly StressLess Campers Facebook group. We appreciate that you did. Of course, that question won't go away. It just won't be on the featured, top of the page anymore, because now we're going to ask you this week's question, and that is, what is your best boondocking hack? Yeah,
did we miss something? Do you have another great thing to share with everybody? You can answer those questions at our Fun and Friendly StressLess Campers Facebook group. And if you're like, Facebook, phooey on that, actually, it's really a good reason to be there. So if you're a little hesitant about being part of a Facebook group, no worries. We keep this one really polite and friendly, and we have some great people there, including some who are very knowledgeable.
Yes. So we talk all the time about the show notes, and you're going to find those at StressLessCamping.com. And while you're there, you know that you can sign up for our once a week newsletter. Once a week, I said, once a week. We send you a newsletter. It reminds you that our podcast is out. And if we've seen any other great news or hacks or tips along the way out there in internet land, we share those as well. Yeah. So you can, any page on our website, you can sign up for the newsletter. We don't sell it or give it away to anybody else. We just use it for that once a week newsletter to let you remember that we're out here.
Yep, and you can find all the show notes. We're babbling on about that. This is episode 313. And it's on the podcast page at StressLessCamping.com.
You can also check out our favorite RV products and services page. That's where we used to call it like a shopping guide, but there's some products, some services, some discounts, all those things to find the stuff that you're going to need to make your RV life more fun.
We'll be happy to spend all your money just for you.
Yeah, just for you.
Of course, we're in all the social places that you are. You can start at StressLessCamping.com, and the upper right corner, there's a link to all the social places where we are, and it's probably where you are. And if you haven't wasted enough time this week, we could help you with that too.
If you're an audio listener, you know that you can subscribe to the StressLess Camping Podcast on your favorite podcast catcher for free, and we are saving you a seat around this virtual campfire / creekside.
Yeah, and of course a review will always help others find it, which helps us grow our audience, which we really appreciate, because our goal is to serve you, and the more of you we can serve, the more of you we can serve.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Also, if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe and all that YouTubedness.
Do you want a second? Shall we wait? Found it? All right. Cool. Thanks.
Super cool.
If you read something on our website that you really liked, you can share it by just copying the page you're on and sharing that in your Facebook page or wherever. If you want to email that to people, that's very easy to do. We do have a whole page about sharing if you're interested in doing that and you haven't quite figured it out. If you see a post that we've made on Facebook, just hit the share button and it will share that post out to your friends. Thank you, Cousin John and Aunt Kathy, for doing that pretty much every time we put a post on Facebook.
Yeah, and of course this week it's been so great to see a lot of old friends here in Clear Lake. Special shout out to Tim and Tammy.
Yes, thank you, Tim, for cooking all the chicken last night.
That's
you thought
right.
We'd forget, but we didn't.
Nope, that was a good chicken. And just all the wonderful people we've been able to spend this past week with.
We can't start listing them, or else we'll forget somebody and then we'll be really in big trouble.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you again for being part of our StressLess Camping family. We really appreciate each and every one of you. We hope you're enjoying some great journeys this week, because summer's officially here.
Yeah.
And with that, what we really hope is that you are
StressLess Camping.